Alright, so it's 6:10 on Tuesday, September 24th, 2019. And I'll call the meeting to order. And the first thing we'll do is stand for a moment of silent reflection. Is there any declaration of clear interest or will make sure they're out? Seeing none, we just have one staff report before we go into the public meeting, which is scheduled at 6:30, and that's a report from the CEO Treasurer, and it's the request for proposal for sidewalk engineering. Kat.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. As Council will recall, we received a request for proposal 10 of 2019 for the design and engineering of sidewalk sections at the September 3rd, 2019 Council meeting. Council requested additional information be obtained prior to making a decision on the award of the request for proposal number 10, 2019. We submitted on September 16 also was highlighted with maps that showed the areas that were being considered for sidewalks, as well as Council directed that an additional section from the intersection of 2nd Street to the entrance to Dolphin Drive on the north side be added. The additional information was received, but due to an email error, we were unable to retrieve our emails for the day, so the proposals were held over until this meeting. Attached was a copy of the updated amounts, which included the additional section of sidewalk being proposed. The totals, excluding HST, for the work include $140,600 from Street Associates, Driven Engineering Incorporated $62,450, and B.M. Ross and Associates $125,913 plus the HST. That's to prepare a design for all of the sidewalk sections as Council requested. There was a notation in my report that former Public Works Manager Jeff Little had been advised some of the contractors that have contacted him that a photometric design was not required to be provided if the design could be achieved through the industry standards. The firms were also advised that tender documents were not required, as the plans will show the engineering and provide a basic construction cost which the municipality can evaluate and use as a guideline to move towards tender documents. There was no requirement to provide for contract administration, construction layout, or site inspection indicated by the Public Works Manager. However, two of the firms quoted did provide that information, so it's ready for tender documents. So those are the revised amounts. The recommendation still remains that Street Associates be engaged for the engineering services as requested, and that a clear path direction be established at the initial meeting to ensure the scope of the project is understood.
Thank you, Kathy. Any questions or comments from Council? Councilor Brody?
I have a very hard time with accepting Street Associates from Driven for $80,000 more when we're talking sidewalks. This isn't a sewer system, water plant, it's sidewalks. We don't even know if we're going to approve all these areas of sidewalks. Why will we spend $80,000 more just for the engineering of it? My opinion.
Councilor McKay?
And just to add to Councillor Brody's comments, in the original recommendation from Jeff, he did say that Driven Engineering was an acceptable firm, and he had no problem with them. So I concur with Councillor Brody.
Councilor Clark?
I did a little bit of homework and asked somebody who did not bid on this what would be a reasonable amount, and yeah, I have to agree with Driven. I think that would be the one we would choose, that I would support. It's still even a little bit high, but you have to factor in what you're getting for that. So I think that's probably the best one.
Okay, so I'm hearing that we have a motion then that resolve that Council approve the sidewalk engineering tender from Driven Engineering Inc. in the the amount of $60,450 plus HST. Remember seconder for that? Councilor Brody and Deputy Mayor Hendricks. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Okay. So now we're going to have a motion to recess until 6:30, which is our public meeting. Okay. Councilor McKinnon and Councilor Clark, all those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Marion Hendricks, Councilor Brody, Councilor McKinnon, Clark, and those are members of council, and they're going to be participating in this as well. So with that, I do need a motion from council to resolve that the public meeting for the potential creation of a community hub and implementation or improvements to the Kerwood Park be opened at 6:30. Councilor McKinnon and Councilor Brody, all those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. And yeah, there's some more seats right over here. So before we begin, I just want to kind of give a background as to how we got here and why we've invited the municipality to come and discuss the improvements for the Kerwood Park and the possibility of the creation of a hub in our community. So for a number of years, the council, not just this term but previous terms, have been talking about what we want, what we'd like to do in Kerwood, whether it's the park or creation of that hub or whatever it is. And last term, we had our first strategic plan for our municipality, and in those, it was the actions of improving the park and creating that hub. And the one problem that we found, and we keep on going around in circles, is what is a hub? And we don't really have that definition of what that is. And that's been kind of our standing point, is we're having a hard time, what that is and what we'd like to see. With that, we decided to have this public meeting. I think it's the first of its kind for Adelaide Metcalfe, this type of meeting, and I'm very excited about this and excited about what the outcome is going to be. And I'm so glad to see so many people here this evening, and hopefully there'll be a few more that trickle in as well. With that, we decided to hire Brian Boyle and Associates to facilitate this meeting, to allow council members to participate, just like yourselves, in this process. And from that, Brian will be gathering all of the information, and then he'll have a report that comes back to council. I really feel that this is a very important meeting and very exciting time for Adelaide Metcalfe. As I said, council, we have varying ideas and thoughts as to what we'd like to see in the community, and that's kind of why, that's why this meeting is here. And I really feel that our, 5 different views and all your views are going to come into one from this meeting, and then coming out of it, we'll have a direction as to what we'd like to do. There's going to be no decision made this evening. It's information gathering and idea gathering. And like I said, Brian's going to compile that report, and council is going to be making a decision hopefully later on this year as to what we'd like to see. And it's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to what ideas are out there and your thoughts. So I'm going to introduce Brian.
Test, okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize it.
It's all right. So thanks, Curtis, and it's my pleasure to be here tonight, gang. I have lived in Lambton for about the last 35 years, so I was glad to be able to slip across the border tonight and meet with you folks. So whenever we get involved in any type of activity, we try and establish, if you like, I kind of like to boil it down, if you pardon the expression, into 1 or 2 sentences of why we're here. And that, on the side here, for the visual learners, I used to just chat with the folks, but my wife and daughter are both teachers. So what about the visual learners that might want to see what they're doing? So, whatever I say, this is not a seminar where we speak, you listen. This is getting everybody involved, and I hope you're willing to do that. But on the side there are some, there's spots up in here, gang, if you want to come right up, don't worry, there's good seats. So there's what we think we're here for tonight, and it is to solicit valuable information from the public, that's you guys, the taxpayers, for the evaluation or the implementation of the creation of a community hub in Kerwood and improvements to the Kerwood Park. So that's what we're hoping to do here. So I'd like to set the stage a little bit, and this will be the total of kind of me presenting to you. And some of these things are based on, I have worked with many different groups over the last 40 years, and there's some things that I have learned from meetings, and I'd just like to help set the stage a little bit before we get into it. And the first is we value everybody's opinion. You're here in a representative role. There are more residents in Metcalfe, in Adelaide Metcalfe than are here tonight. So you're representing your neighbors or your buddies or the folks you go to church or school with or whatever. So you are a good representative sample of the community. This is your opportunity to provide some valuable input. And my goal is to try and make best use of your valuable time. So you don't go home and tell your neighbors, that was a freaking waste of time. I could have been watching TV or cutting the grass or doing something else. We hope that that will not be the case. So my aim is to help reach the desired goals of the workshop, which I just flashed up to you there a minute ago, to get your input on the situation. Now, in terms of some guidelines that I have seen work in other meetings, and one is that everyone has wisdom. Not just the most vocal, not just the person who lives closest to the park, and not just the longest term resident, or not just council, but everybody. And we need everybody's wisdom to get the best results tonight. So you'll see some of the approaches that we take. We're going to encourage all of you to get your thoughts out there. And one thing is we encourage you to be active listeners, hear what other folks are saying rather than waiting for them to take a breath so you can hit them with your side of the story. Concise responses. You've all been to meetings where you've heard responses that are less than concise. And people say, oh, same person again, you know what I mean? That like to speak to every point. We encourage you to respect each other's right to an opinion, even though you may or may not agree. I do lots of work with intergenerational groups, and where, for example, in agriculture you get some folks in the autumn of their career, let's say, in high equity and not really that keen on changing things. You get others in the room or in the group that are younger, highly leveraged, and looking to change and whatever. So they come at it from different, and they may never agree. You may be there for days and never agree. But if you can respect why people are saying that, because of where they live, or because of their experience, or because of their finances, or whatever, we've come quite a piece. And the other thing is tech etiquette. We're all packing for various reasons, so I just encourage you not to let technology interfere with your group if you can. And we kind of have, well, we're not just kind of, we do have you at tables, and that's for a reason. There will be some times tonight we're going to chat at the table and report some information. And the method that we're hoping to use is this self-recording. And I've used this extensively in my career with lots of different groups, everywhere from, well, any range of folks, some who have never had a marker in their hand for the last 40 years. But it has some reasons that I have found make it valuable, and I just want to share them with you rather than just saying write it down. You can hear some of the things I found. It provides an opportunity for everybody's input. And instead of saying, what did table 1 think, and what did table 2 think, and what did table 3, we can ask you something, and as a table or as an individual, you can get that on a sheet and on the wall, and we hear what everybody's thinking. And some folks actually prefer to write stuff down rather than stand up, especially in a group of this size. They may not feel as comfortable as just jotting down at a point. And your exact point is noted, and it's not somebody's opinion of what you said, it's what you wrote there. And it's not edited. I used to say, unless it's slanderous or libelous, and I used to say, I've never seen that happen. until I worked with the vegetable guys in Chatham, Kent a little while ago. And some of you know that story about the board getting collapsed, and a few that have read that in the farmer. I cannot say that anymore, that I've never seen one that couldn't be used. But, and it's clear it's the same. You can only get so much on there, no matter how much you love to write. But the real beauty is the last three things. Many ideas come up simultaneously. It allows grouping to focus the discussion, and priorities emerge. If you see dollars, funding, taxation, or whatever, you know that costing is an issue, or whatever. So that's the reasons that we encourage you to use it, and we hope that you can, and we will have this place pretty well wallpapered by the time we're done with all of your good ideas. So we'll need some cooperation for those closest to the wall to help us get them up there. There's some seats up here, folks. If you want to come right up, feel free.
I see that.
So that's that's basically all the me talk to you listen part, with the exception of a few instructions that we're hoping to do tonight. And from here on, we want to really get you gang engaged. So the first thing I'd like you to do is everybody, there are markers on your table, there's smelly markers, I hope your flavor's there. And I'd like every one of you to write on a little piece of paper, and you can share, there's lots of paper there, and we have more, so don't, you're running low. With a marker, could you write down the first one or two words that come to your head when you hear the creation of a community hub in Kerwood and improvements to the Kerwood Park? Grab a marker and the first one or two words that come to your mind. And once you got those done, gang, file them up at your table and we'll get them on the wall. Yeah, right in there. With a marker. In fact, if one of you can be deputized, and we'll put them on this wall, okay? One of you, take yours and stick them on this wall. These ones will give you a little room.
Make you work, Brad. Work all day.
This wall over here, guys, we're going to try and use that wall for your
Did your spell check with you, Bruce?
I just can't get out to put the stickers on the wall.
Okay, everybody there is up? Okay, here's what you are saying, folks. I'll just share them with you. This is the first thing that hits your mind when you come in here. Okay, expenses, moving forward. Cost, value, who pays? The hub, absolutely necessary. Park, needs improvement. What is a hub? Where would it go? Parking problem. Or parking and then kitchen. Multi-use. Good, great. Where would it be? Recreation, cost, benefits. Washrooms at the park, much needed. Finally, where, what? The connection, safe space, gathering place. Park needed. Where's the hub? Taxes are too high already. Park is already busy with soccer, etc. Can they go together? Washrooms, more diverse activities. And they gave some examples: soccer ball, skating track, building for use by all, community gatherings, washrooms, playground, washrooms, small hall, creative cost of how do we proceed, family-friendly, accessible, a variety of activities, more taxes, more traffic, how much, activities, family, playground, park, green space, building is in the right place, new municipal building, why, keep the park, bye-bye green space, loss if the public, loss of park space, sorry, expensive, we don't have a plan, too much money, higher taxes, what purpose is a hub? Don't ruin the park. Do we need it? How much children's play area will be lost? People, what is a hub? Dollar signs below. Tim Hortons, is that what it says? Who will use it? Cost, use, who will use it? Oh no, water. So, those are just some of the first impressions you had. Oh yeah, community informed, 100% or 50. Enrollment or no? Community and involvement, okay, community involvement, 100% or 50%? Question mark. So, I have done this many times with many groups, similar type questions, and that is what I would call a very mixed bag, right? I did it recently with 11 hockey executives and 11 ticked-off referees, and theirs was unfair, dictatorial, forgot about the kids, and it just went south from there. Everyone was. In this, I see some concerns, I see some positives, and that type of thing. So it's, I would say, from an outside person looking in, that's a very mixed bag, what you're bringing to the party. So, one of the next steps we'd like to do, so often when we get into something like this, we just want to get right into the action and forget kind of where we're going. So, I would like you now, as a group, to work together, and one person write on your behalf, and you can write several items on a page, but so often we forget about where we're headed. And we get right into the weeds and say, can't do it, costs too much, or let's get at it. But we often forget what we'd like to see or what our desired outcome. So I'm going to ask you there, and the words that I put up that try to keep it very basic is, how will we know that we got it right with a successful approach to evaluation and or implementation of the creation of a community hub in Kerwood and improvements to Kerwood Park? If I was to come back in, say, a year or two on a gravel run and visit with some of you, what would we see? What would we hear to make us know that, yep, that night in the village that we got together, they really listened, and as a result, what would we see? What would we hear? And that's not to be confused with how are we going to get there, because we're going to spend the rest of the evening on that. What would we see? What would we hear? Like happy kids, or whatever. Okay, so at your table, yep.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm allowed or not, but I've heard about amalgamation. We're next door to Strathroy Caradoc, and whether that's part of the big picture or not, but my question would be, if that were to happen through the government regulations, is there anything in that, or do we need, and I am a resident of Adelaide Metcalfe, that we pursue that, or do we row our own boat and do this community thing?
Okay, I would say that fits right into the next little part we're going to do, so don't lose that thought. But we're at this point, we're going to talk about what we would like to see as desired outcomes. Then we're going to approach that very type of thing in a minute.
Okay.
So I'm not to shut down the idea, but okay, let's go, gang. At your table, work together. One of you record on behalf of the Jen, I just wanted to try out my new mic here, I just hooked one up, but I also do want to remind you, in case you're kind of wondering how that desired outcomes, that very same meeting that I referred to, and I just jotted down to share with you, when we asked them at the first of the meeting, how will we know we got it right? And these are the types of things they came up with. The players won't miss any hockey games because of refs not showing up. And that was a happen, you know, they didn't want to go to this particular arena without getting paid, and so they just wouldn't show. So that wouldn't happen. Hockey parents would be happy. If you can do that, you can do anything. Young referees would stay engaged. They'd say, yeah, I don't want to get away, if there's all this hassle, I don't want to be part of that. Players might aspire to be a referee instead of just a player. So instead of going on to play junior hockey, they might like to ref. And then mutual respect will replace the current conflict. They're at the stage that they couldn't even have lunch together, the two sides of the argument. So that's the type of thing we're talking about, that you're working on now. I hear a good buzz, so drive on. Keep her going.
That's what I think.
Thank you.
Remember what we asked you on the wall there? How will we know, sorry, how will we know we've got it right with the approach to,
Okay, you're on.
okay, here's the word, there's the words that we're talking about there. How will we know we got it right with a successful approach to evaluation or implementation of the creation of a community hub in Kerwood? So, and improvements to Kerwood Park. So you said, we'll keep it green space, we'll maintain the current outdoor activities, we'll have more community involvement, we'll have no increase in taxes, we'll have no hub, we'll have a community center, we'll have no loss of green space, we'll have cooperation, we'll have a busy park, we'll have washrooms, we'll have park use that's high, we'll have washrooms in the park, we'll have a hub created with no debt, we'll have a park that stays intact, we'll have continued community activities and fundraisers. We will have, it'll be an example of a hub, just bringing people together. We'll have baseball, soccer for the kids and adults too if they wish. This is the perennial question, what does a hub offer that we don't already have? Functioning park with multiple activities. We'll leave the park the very way it is. We'll have more. Well, I think those are two divergent things, but it says leave the park the way it is. More washrooms, bracket permanent. Signage to say what's available at the park and who to contact, including online information. We'll have more people enjoying the park. We'll have happier residents. We'll have washroom priorities for comfort, accessibility. We'll have diversity and inclusivity, there's a good word. We'll have more engagement. We'll have positive comments and feedbacks. And why does the township need to be moved? Question mark. There's everything we need here. You're going to take more of the farmland to build it. There's a judgment. Maintain the park better. Where are our wood chips? There are some philosophical questions here, right?
On the way.
We have families will be there all year round. We'll have more community involvement. We'll have an all-in-one kind of building. We'll receive some government funding, and how much will it affect the budget? Private development coming to the area as a result. An event that brings outside tours to Kerwood, and we'll have a safe place for children. We'll have a sense of community, and we'll address two issues, the hub and improvements to the park. So you have done exactly what we asked you. This is how you would envision if we're successful. So the next thing I want you to look at, would you mind clicking, one of you folks mind clicking the next slide there with the little, just click the little mouse, it should go on one. There. Okay, so there's two ways you can do things. One is to do more of something that's good. Do it more often, do it better. And the other is obviously the reverse, change the things that are not going well. So the first thing I'd like you to do is think positive and work as a group at your table, the same deal, and we'll put them on this wall where we got lots of room. And there's the question. What merits exist for evaluation and or implementation of the creation of a community hub in Kerwood and improvements to the Kerwood Park? These would be features on which we could build. You're going to get a chance, and I know there's some have already taken that chance, but we're going to swing right next into all and any of the challenges. But think positive. Some of them are starting to come out ahead of the positives here. But let's think positive for the next little period, regardless of your perspective. What merits? These can come in two ways. Strengths are something over which we have some control, right? If you're using your family, for example, if your kids were very athletic, you might say, we're going to give them all the opportunities they can. We're going to save up and let them play double or triple A hockey if they want, or have them join teams and do the chores on their behalf, or whatever. That's something you could do to build on a strength. If your family was strong culturally, we'll give them more music lessons. We'll help from establish a band, or whatever. These are things you could do. Then there's opportunities that are out there to be grabbed. If we don't grab them, somebody else will. It might be Caradoc, it might be Strath, it might be Donald Trump, it might be anybody that will grab the opportunities that are out there to be had. So either or, you don't have to decide which is which, but any merits that you see that exist for those words that are up there. Okay, think positive. At your table, one person right, and the rest go at it. Share it. What positives do you see? I see quite a few different merits in the desired outcomes. So if you put some up there, don't lose those thoughts that you put up there on the positives of when you talk about desired outcomes. Don't lose those now when you're talking about the merits, because some of those would be directly transferable. So keep coming, we'll get them up there for you. want you to bring those up, Cass, would you mind, there's a couple of tables there still working on theirs to bring them up? Okay, I'll share with you what you have said. Remember, there's what we said, what merits exist for evaluation and or implementation of the creation of a community hub in Kerwood and improvements to the Kerwood Park. These would be features on which we could build. You said things like fundraisers, it's closer to the community, improved playground safety, accessibility, it's centralized, there's lots of space to improve on what's already there, improvements to the park is already the community center place, continue community activities, improve the dugouts and washrooms, bring more people to Kerwood, economic development opportunities, possibly, private funding, year-round use, park accessibility, distributed road maintenance would cover the area better or more. A free soccer program with fun teams currently draws 150 kids. Strathroy kids come to the playground to play after soccer. The park is safe, fenced and trees surrounding the area. More activities in the park, more opportunities for children, better use of the current building. One-stop shop with the Township Hall, Fire Hall, Public Works, for example. Put the township office in a more central spot, get rid of the former Adelaide or former Metcalfe mindset. Accessibility is currently an issue at the park and at the township office. If amalgamation does happen, a hub would help put Metcalfe Adelaide on the map and strengthen our community. For example, a hall would be more beneficial to have now than hope for an investment at a later time. So that's some of the positives. The next question. Curtis, can you maybe click that one? And this is the one some of you have been waiting for, and that is the challenges, right? It's always easier to criticize, whether you're talking about your spouse or your hockey team, and especially if it's the Leafs or whatever, your school, or, it's always easy to criticize. So we want to give you a chance to do that, and it's just kind of a reverse. These are things that must be addressed if any of this activity is to become successful. And they come in two ways. There could be weakness, and that's something over which we have some control. And that's, for example, if I use a family example, if you think the kids in your family really don't have enough post-secondary education or chances at that, you can do things about that. You can save up money as a family, you can investigate in 2, 4-year or 1-year training or whatever, and that's something you can do. Then there are threats. This is what's coming at us. We got no control over it, and we can blame lots of other people, and farmers all know about the weather is one of the biggest threats, but not necessarily in this case, but that's a threat that comes out in your family. It may be health, it may be finances or whatever that you had nothing to do with, but it's coming at you. So the same drill in this. In terms, what challenges exist for evaluation and or implementation of the creation of a community hub in Kerwood and improvements to the Kerwood Park. And some of you, our table up here said you may draw, and some of you have been doing that, may draw a difference between the two aspects. Like this would be a real challenge for a hub, but not so much for a park. But that's up to you at your table. So have at her. Share what are the challenges?
Can they coexist in the park?
Okay, we'd like to share with you. We'd like to share with you what you have said are some of the challenges. Remember we said up there challenges are considered negative. They could be weaknesses, things over which we have some control, or they could be threats coming at us over which we have no control. And here's what you said, some of the doesn't have good water, and that takes money. Ontario is already strapped for money. Where do you think they're going to come with the grant? Kerwood residents paid for the sewers. Are we going to get reimbursed? Question mark. Hub challenges, available land, loss of green space, or agricultural land. We don't want township trucks in Kerwood. Don't have a township garage central to Kerwood due to increased traffic concerns. In other words, don't bring a garage to Kerwood. Concerns relating to cost of land. Liability. Alexandria has come and gone as an example of a community center that's over in our country in Lambton. Westminster Township is gone. Doug Ford, exclamation question, whatever that might mean. Oh, it says forced amalgamation. Maybe that's attributed to Doug Ford. Cost of a hub. The park in Kerwood is already used fairly extensively. If we throw a bunch of money at it, is it really going to entice more people to use it more? Question mark, question mark. Increased taxes, in other words the cost. So few members of the public use the town hall. Primary location is the nearest, and the nearest biggest threat is a train derailment for that location. Park funds available, we need decisions and actions. Reserve funds, question mark. Are they used, question mark? Is 1,000 households big enough for the creation of a hub? Can a hub and a park coexist on the current property? Loss of park space, cost and tax increases. Cost and taxes, no land, no water, no hub as it stands now. Parking, availability of the township owned property. Funding, potential debt, impact on taxes. There is not municipal water. Council's willingness to make a decision. How are we going to pay for this? Question mark. Small population. How do you attract other people into the area? We're too close to Strathroy. Need to get younger people in the community or add a seniors program. Loss of park impacts local fundraising. It impacts local support for children's activity. Kerwood is a busy road. Water upgrade is needed. Letting the community know what's happening. Not everyone's online. The price of land, costs, accessibility, the lack of washrooms, upkeep, agreement on what needs to be done, and improved communication between users and municipalities. Buildings we already have are in decent shape. Why build anything new? We lose our park space. Centralized garage is inefficient. Where will 150 kids play soccer? And $3 signs. Okay, that is some of the things you had as challenges that you see. And for the next little thing, you are people of action. So I would like you to suggest some actions that would aim for those desired outcomes you talked about, build on those merits, the positives that you thought about, and address these challenges. And Curtis, can you maybe click ahead and we'll... So I would say there are many actions that could ensure that the evaluation and/or the implementation, and just my words there is to effectively consider it or even implement it, of the creation of a community hub in Kerwood and improvements to the Kerwood Park, and they need not be both together. If your actions may be specific to one and specific to other, or both, that would help Adelaide Metcalfe from being financially responsible and relevant in meeting the needs of all its citizens into the future. So, what actions might you suggest? And to help you a little bit, Curtis, or one of you, can you click another one there? I'm on this corner. Click a little. So, they should build on the merits, reduce or eliminate those challenges there we talked about, all the while keeping in mind the desired outcomes that you have over here. And once more, Curtis, and here's the little suggestion I have. So I would like you to put one action only on each sheet, and the more the merrier. Don't worry about iShares and 3M. So keep the stickies coming. But 2 to 7 words on each, just kind of like a title if you like. Include an action verb. My daughter teaches grade 2, and her action words are run, and jump, and play. I want big people verbs from you guys. Like implement, or create, or share, or lobby, or cancel, or boycott, or whatever you want to put in there for a verb. Write boldly with a marker. I think you've all got that pretty well. And one action per card. The other thing is, there's lots of divergent views here, and not everybody has to agree on your action to put it up. Okay? You don't have to convince your buddies that that's the right answer. Put them all up, and then I'm going to get you to decide what's good, bad, or different. So if you have different views, they can all come up.
I can do that too.
Okay, one per post-it. And if you keep those guidelines in mind, and lots of good experience. You at your table think should be done. So to have this meaningful, I'm looking at this as a whole family of ideas. So the next step is, we'd like to identify the twins. It's like a family picnic. We want to identify the twins. In other words, the same thing, very same thing came from 2 tables. We want to identify the siblings, the brothers and sisters, kind of like, but not quite. We want to identify the distant cousins. And I'm sure there'll be a French exchange student that shouldn't be there, but they are, and what are we going to do with it? Okay, so I'm going to read these to you, so be thinking in your mind which ones kind of fit together. So I will just read them all, and you'll say, hey, there's 2 that said, what the heck is a hub, or what the hub is a, whatever. So keep those in mind, and then we'll start sorting, and I'm going to get Fred to play Vanna here, and he's going to call. We can get these things up. And And we'll get these up into kind of groups. Remember I said in the thing first, how you can sometimes group things and see how they're going. So, listen up. Engage people living in Buttery Creek. Build washrooms. Scrap the hub. Separate the park from the hub. Clean up Kerwood. Leave office and works department where they are, exclamation. Create potable water at the park. Join communities in bloom. Install permanent bathrooms. Spend money to improve what we have. Maintain playground equipment / area. Get municipal water first. Other improvements are needed, like fence, wood chips, trim the trees, swings up to code. Hub does not address this. Let the children have their playground. No building a hub. Do not build it and they will not come, or whatever. How many years before it's built? It gets more expensive the longer it takes. Take action at the park. Use available park funds. Concentrate on improvements to the park. Build or create washrooms. Municipal water leads to more people and more new houses and demand for a hub. Define a hub. Separate church and state. Or rather, separate hub and park. What do we need? What do we want? Can't afford the cost of water. Municipal water is installed. Improve the park bathrooms. Remove the old buildings. Good running water to Kerwood and Adelaide Metcalfe. Build a water attraction. You can use your imagination what that might be. It might be a fountain, a good one. Make use of existing money from the wind companies. Implement park improvements only. Renovate or build all municipal buildings to be accessible. Implement an attraction. Fix ball diamonds. Create a sense of community without actually building. And they're talking about some soft skills, if you like we suggested, the Golden Group here suggested family fun days, that kind of thing. Develop a park plan and costs without a hub. Accessibility, I'm not sure what the verb is, increase or improve or install or whatever. Clean up Kerwood. Inquire of Strathroy Caradoc to offer the park and recreation there. Oh yeah, inquire from Strathroy Caradoc to offer park and recreation expertise, of which they have some. Should have been water instead of sewers. That's looking backwards. Tell us what a hub means. Eliminate all thoughts of a hub. Does the cost outweigh the need? Question mark. Implement community pride programs, for example, Community in Bloom. Create opportunities for growth, both residential and business. Consider the taxpayers' dollars as a concern. Water will come from the municipality of North Middlesex. The money will go back to them and not to Adelaide Metcalfe. Okay, so with Fred's help, we're going to start putting up, if we see some twins, and we asked you to write a nice date, which you did. And between Fred and I, we'll try and, what you tell us that are similar, very, very similar, we'll put them across here. So, who sees the twins?
Clean up Kerwood.
Clean up Kerwood.
Yellow and pink.
Yellow and pink.
Okay. Let's look at, Fred, anything, are you doing water?
I'm doing water.
Okay. There's several that are water, and we might even have one or two for water. Municipal water first. There's the theme, right, Fred? There's that. Good running water. There's another one right there. Right, yeah, you got it. Municipal water leads to more people.
Create potable water. Great, pink one, this end.
Who's paying for this water? Yeah, this is pink so far. Yeah, right, yeah. Seems like we got a water problem.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, there's another one. Yep, next one, pink one. Create
Right by your hand.
Create portable.
Right by your hand.
Row in, second from the bottom.
Okay, good, thanks.
I'm on a list.
What about the
Yeah. Well, I would say that's
the French exchange.
okay, let's look at, somebody said there was 2 cleanup Kerwoods, and I think they're right? There's another one?
We gotta clean up Kerwood?
Yes, they're clean up Kerwood, right here.
What's that?
The communities in bloom would be cleaning up Kerwood
Yeah,
too.
what's that mean though? couple community pride ones.
Okay, I remember the words, install relating to bathrooms or washrooms, there's more of them, right?
Green one. Green one, and the washroom right there.
Approve the washrooms?
Washroom's right there in front of you.
Good. Thank you. Another one here, good, brought a roll. Four of a kind, that's good. Hold your hand. Okay, let's go on the idea of defining. Remember, one group said, what the heck is a hub? And there's two or three said that. Tell us what a hub is. Right here, Fred. Right here, go. And then this thought of hub, separate church and state, as I said, a hub and
Right there, there's an orange one.
separate part from the hub.
Joint communities in bloom, and there was another one that had bloom.
Yeah, there's two, right
Community
there.
pride was one here, and communities in bloom, where's that?
Right there.
Yellow by Brian.
Brian, right by your hand,
Oh,
right
yes,
there.
there you go. It's definitely stuck to the wall. There you go. Okay, what about the money thing? Spend money to improve what we have, that could maybe go a couple places.
There's a lot that are improving what we already have.
Yeah, let's go on that please, Brett, first.
Right there.
Improve what we got.
Those two. And maintain playground.
Maintain the playground. Who else sees?
Concentrate on improving the paint, second one down.
Let the children have the playground?
And down the paint.
Concentrate on improving the park.
And other improvements, right at the bottom there. Yeah.
Other improvements?
Implement health improvement only, right there, second orange one down. Right there.
Right, those were it.
Fix
Okay.
wall alignments would be that too.
Take action at the park, bring back water.
Take action at the park, is that,
I like it. You should be out here.
fix the ball lines?
Take my
No, Brad, you're doing good. We'll put on us now, Brad. What do we need, okay, sweet. Engage the people living in Buttery Park, does that lie with anything, or is that a new start? Engage the community, what, is there anything else that says engage the community? Create a sense of community, yeah,
What about this one, create opportunities?
yeah. Well, I just think that could be a standalone, because that would be the one. We said, there was one that said, build it and they will come, right? It created an attraction. Okay, so then we got the non-hubbers.
The green one at the end.
And there's a couple, scrap the hub. No hub.
There's another one, eliminate all thoughts.
Eliminate all thoughts. Yeah, that's three different ways of saying the same thing.
Right here, there's one too. Leave office and works department where they are. Brian right behind it, up. The yellow.
Yes, that's right. All right, we're getting these picnic tables filled up here at the reunion. Inquire of Strathcaredock to see, would that fit anywhere that you see? Standalone? Does the cost, okay, dollars. Have we didn't really address the dollars thing? Does the cost?
Here's number.
Oh yeah, how many?
There's another dollar
And then
there.
there's the money here.
Yeah, that's true.
All right.
That's also just.
Make use of wind money.
Make use of the wind money, that's a. Renovate or build all municipal buildings to be accessible.
There's another one down
Yeah, there's another.
Accessibility? Well, that's a standard.
Well, that's pretty much the law.
Okay, so we've got them kind of grouped now. Are there any ones that, some of these groups are pretty small, is there any ones that would kind of, that you could kind of put together a bit? What about clean up Kerwood? Would it go with, you talked about, and in other words, improve the visual of the community and the, Okay, create a sense of community.
Yellow.
This one here. You go with that?
Nope,
Next one over.
next one over.
Oh, sorry.
Under the cleanup for Kerwood.
Usually.
It's in the right, yeah.
Yeah, we're in. Okay, sense of community. Engage people, listen.
That's, Buttery Creek is on the other side of the township.
Yeah.
Okay, so that, but let's say this is, we'll put a title on this. Are there any others that kind of go?
I think it's soccer. They do come soccer, and they came on a fun day. So it's a fun day.
What about this hub separate, can we put that under the no hub or not?
Yes, yeah.
There's not,
Maybe
Or do you see, those who put that up there, do you see that as different, excluding note versus separate? Anybody want to keep that still separate? Put it together? Okay. And there was another one you're pointing to. Oh, define the hub. Okay. So this. Okay, are there any others that, what about accessibility? Could that go into park improvements kind of thing, or? See the,
Accessibility could be any of the municipal buildings.
yeah, it could be an overarching theme, right? Okay. So we can leave that on its own. The bathrooms. Okay, so we've got some, what do I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
No, 8,
they're actually the same one.
Oh, these are, you're right, that's water, right, those double barrel water.
Heavy on the water.
Yeah, okay. All right, so let's put a meaningful title on these, and Stacy's going to write it with her marker there. She's a nice printer. So something that's meaningful for what's under here. So let's put a verb in it and something that describes what's under here. And the title may be hiding right on the wall here. What about improved park bathrooms? Would that catch it?
Really going for the whole park.
Yeah.
It's all parking.
How are you gonna improve a porta john?
Yeah.
So the
What do you
top
say? Put them over there?
is so permanent.
Now, we need a better title now, because we brought the washrooms in here. What, and I heard one that you said there just a minute ago, what about the, Pinkos here had one, concentrate on improvements to the park. How about that? Concentrate's a good verb, like, don't screw around, like, go for it. And improvements to the park would include washrooms and all these things, wood chips and fence and trim, and Stacy, concentrate on improvements to the park. Yeah, and that's a title that covers it all. I might be able to reach that for another too, but we'll see. Now we've got create opportunities for growth, both residential and business, implement an attraction, build a water attraction. What's something that would describe that? How about this? Because I'm just doing some thinking on your behalf, and you can say your name. Create attracting opportunities. Would that work? Like, you're trying to create something that would make people come. And don't bring the truck. But come. Okay? Stace, create attractive, or create opportunities that attract is maybe what we're saying.
That's right there.
Yeah. Create opportunities that attract.
People.
Yep. And you can think of areas, and Fred knows that very well, how you get people to come by appealing to things that they want. Okay, now, a general title for this. I'll read them down, and you can kind of think of a good title and include it all. Join communities in blue. Implement community pride programs. For example, communities doing cleanup Kerwood, clean up Kerwood, create a sense of community without actually building anything. Engage people living in Buttery Park, or Buttery Creek, rather. And what's the theme that's telling us? There's some keywords in there.
Community improvement.
Okay, what's the verb?
Great.
Create, community improvement.
Engage.
Engage in community improvement. Sounds good to me? Does that work? Stacy, engage in,
How about invest
Focus.
in community?
okay. How about using both those verbs? Because engage doesn't always mean pay. Do you like the idea of invest? Engage and invest in community improvement. Good. We got a hybrid figure there. Anybody that knows crossbreeding of cattle, George will tell you about that.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. The offspring is better than either of the parents. Isn't that right, George? Yeah. Just ask your kids. Okay. Now we got the no building of the hub, scrap the hub, eliminate thoughts of the hub. Develop a park plan and the costs without a hub. Separate the hub and the park. Separate the park from the hub. Define a hub. Tell us what a hub means. Now that's various levels of extremity. The table back there, can you think of a good title? You guys have strong feelings about this one?
I think you should just have
Like no smoking sign?
No hub sign.
No smoking sign, no like a hub.
eliminate.
That, like the no hub thing, would not cover, and we can separate them. That's why I was suggesting that if you would like to evaluate what a hub is, like that's different than a no hub.
That is different.
Okay, let's put it separate, and then you can put a good title on both, and because that's a different reflection. Separate the hub, define a hub, separate, tell us what a hub means. To me, this is a difference. So this one now, this is now good for a no hub sign. Okay. That describes what's under it now. But this one, without the Kerwood thing, this now says, let's decide what a hub is, what all might be in, what's out. Can we separate that from the park idea? If we do this, do we have to think of a hub or whatever? So
what's a hub?
well, that's a good question. A hub, when you think it's the focus of whatever. If it's a tire on your bike, all the spokes and the support radiate from the hub, right? So when people say about a hub, that's usually in municipal central services that generate out. And there's an ambulance hub that they built in London now that things can radiate from. There's the idea is to make it more concentrated, more effective, whatever. Some would argue that may or may not be so, but a hub is a focused center. Now what you put in it.
That's the question.
That's the question.
That's the question.
Yeah.
What is Adelaide Metcalfe Council have in mind for what they want as a hub? What do they want to include in the hub?
I think they want to know what you guys want in a hub.
We don't want them.
Yeah.
We don't want them.
The-
Answer the question, let's all go home.
Co-op
The ship has sailed. We don't want the damn thing.
How about hub plus or minus?
Okay,
There's no common
You want a
sense.
title for that?
can we have,
Hub, plus or minus?
okay, hub plus or minus. There are some that feel no hub, but there are others that may feel, and maybe aren't on for necessarily an argument about it. But this group here, the people who put this up want to evaluate. That's not saying you want to build, but decide or have you suggest what a hub is. Council, having talked to all the council, and this is not, we or I said, we do not want tonight to have an us and them. This is not council responding at this point. There's lots of time to do that yet. But the idea of a hub is different even among councillors. So no one person, and I've talked to all five personally, and there is not a common view of what a hub is. Okay, so in answer to your question, we can't respond to it as to what that might be. So, but this is describing, just grouping what's up there on the wall. The next one here is how many years before it's built? It gets more expensive, longer it takes. Does the cost outweigh the need? Consider a taxpayer's dollar. Make use of existing money for wind companies, and I assume that's a price tag.
Yeah,
Right?
money from the windmill companies earmarked for Kerwood Park improvements, not actually building
A township.
a township office. They're separate things, and they don't spend the one already, so why wouldn't we build it?
Okay, so the financial concerns is what you're saying here. And there are lots of pluses and minuses to it. Municipal water should be first. Water will come from the municipality of North Middlesex. Money will go back to them, not Adelaide Metcalfe. There should have been water instead of sewers, and we cannot afford the cost of water. What's the title of it? Oh, there's two roles there. Good running water. Running is a verb, but not in that sense. That's describes a noun, or this is an adjective here. Is the word get? Is that what we want? No, team? Get water? Municipal water leads to more people, more new houses, and a demand for a hub. Municipal water installed to create potable water at the park. What's the title of this that would cover everybody that's under there? You'll have water in it somewhere. What's the title?
Good water.
Provide quality water? Is that what you're saying?
Abundance of water.
I can't afford it.
Supply of water.
Because I'm gonna pay for it. I can't afford it. You guys aren't paying for it, just a few of us are paying for it. We're paying for the sewers.
Okay, so we'll put,
Totally.
we're going to give you a chance. The next step is I'm going to ask you to evaluate your personal opinion of all of these. Okay, so you get your chance to say that. Right now we're just looking for a title. So would it be to provide quality and quantity of water?
Yes.
Is that what, does that describe what's here?
Yeah, not that far away.
I'm not saying you have to agree with it, or you have to pay for it, or you have to do anything. It's just describing what you, just a title.
You better add affordable.
Affordable.
Okay, let's do that one. We got three adjectives now. Affordable,
Potable water.
well, quality is an assumption that's potable. Yeah. And under appropriate pressure and all that stuff. No, that's all part of the qualities. Okay, then we got these 2 points here on accessibility. What's a verb that we can put up there? How about the verb ensure? Ensure accessibility. And that covers a lot of stuff. That means make sure it meets the specs or whatever.
Sure, provide.
Curtis, there's a little stack of little pallets at the back there, okay? I'm sitting right about just a short with about, yep, perfect. Can you get a couple of your buddies to help, and we'll give one to every person. And I would like you, we're giving you 100 points here. It's not money, it's points, but there are, who's got a red marker? Anybody got a red one here on their? The office where they are.
Here's another one too.
Okay, everybody, I'll tell you how this might work. I would like you, this is one thing you do as a personal thing. If you got a pen, you can use a pen or a marker, it doesn't matter. Whatever. Up here we have got,
Yay or nay?
okay, so I would encourage you, the first thing you're going to do, there's 8 choices there. First thing I'd like you to do is put a line through number 9. Right through the middle of it, go no deeper than 9. Okay, so then, that means there are 8 red numbers up here, and there are 8 black numbers on the side of your sheet. Okay, and I would encourage you, I would like each of you to indicate which are the most important to act on. Okay, and do you want to maybe flip the thing again there? And it'll talk a little bit about it here, I think, if I got my slides. Is it resting? Okay, you have 100 points to allocate to these areas of focus to show their relative importance. Which of these do you think are most important? On the ballot provided, which the boys have already given out to you, I would like you to indicate which actions you think would have the most positive impact in your mind on the approach right now. And here's the guidelines. You have 100 points, put 0 to 40 on any one. So in other words, if you really don't want to hub and you just want to leave with that, we're not suggesting you put 100 on there. 0 to 40, you might put a 40 on there, but you might also put a 40 on this hub to, or wherever. 0 to 40 on any one, and you've got 100 to use. And that will tell us, so everybody's bill card will look different. Some might be 0, 20, 0, 10, 40, 40, 10, whatever. Your personal opinion, 100 points, and there is the 8 choices.
So all of them added together can only be 100 points.
Right. Just like your operating loans. Cannot be over 100 grand. The black numbers, remember down the left, are the very same as these numbers across here. So you don't have to write any words or anything like that. You just write a score beside every number. 0 to 40. 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. Get George to do it. Up to 40.
Now you do it. Now you do it. Yep.
Got it, Cheryl?
So beside we have to write you do the parking.
That's right. You think it's really on that, but that is your personal opinion of the approach. So I'll give you the extremes here in a minute. So please don't mark it yet, but I'll give you a feel for it. So this is 30 at the top and 1 at the bottom. Mr. Clicker, please, can you, if you don't mind? And I think I've got. Okay, here's what the words we have without some heads in it will say. On the ballots that are numbered 1 to 30, which you have in your hand, please choose the number that you feel most accurately describes your perspective of the evaluation and or implementation of the creation of a community hub in Kerwood and improvements to Kerwood Park.
Well, that's 2 different
Yeah, I
things.
know, that's.
Totally
How
different
did you think
things.
this?
Okay, well we've got lots of ballots. Let's in the sake of that, let's make this one, instead of and, let's just do it for the first half for the evaluation, creation of a hub. Okay, this is the first ballot. And put H at the top of it. You'll have to put 2 marks on it now, so I know when we get home. H for hub.
Do you want 2 to each or this?
No, well, nothing to do with it.
So 30 is if you want it, and 1 is if you don't want it.
Now, here's Here's what Kathy, can you click one more? I put some weasel words together to describe what the two extremes are. Here's number 30, what I was thinking when I put it down. And it says, number 30, we are on top of our game. This is a very worthwhile project that could truly meet the needs of the Adelaide Metcalfe community. It should be evaluated immediately, and if the evaluation is positive, creation of a community hub in Kerwood, forget about this improvement, right? We've gone to 2 now. Should begin as soon as possible. So in comparison, that is Sophie describing Justin. He's a great guy, he's a good father, he's athletic, he's good looking and all. Then you get Andrew Shear's description of Justin down here. Number 1 would be dead in the water. This is an ill-conceived project that is of limited or no value to the Adelaide Metcalfe community, and any discussions relating to the creation of a community hub should end as of tonight. So that's the 2 extremes. You may well be somewhere in between, or you may be in one of the extremes.
So it's just for the
Just for the hub, remember? Circle X, whatever, as long as it's clear what you want. You know, if you don't feel, if you want to share it with your neighbors. Okay, guys, if you could. One more. For a park at the top, please. Yeah. And if you're a soybean growers, you can put IP. That means improvements to the park, or identity preserved. But as long as it's not an H. So IP or P, whatever you want. And it's the same guidelines except different words. And I'll read them to you again. This is a very worthwhile project that could truly meet the needs of the Adelaide Metcalfe community. It should be evaluated immediately, and if the evaluation is positive, creation of a community, or improvements to the Kerwood Park should be evaluated and begin as soon as possible. Number 1, it's an ill-conceived project of limited or no value to the community, and discussions about improvements to the park should end as of tonight. Okay, we'll collect those. We'd just like to thank you again for all your engagement. If you're keen on hanging around, I'm going to create a histogram which would show the results of these. I won't be able to add up all the other stuff right away, but this one here we can do pretty quick. If you wanted to hang around and visit, feel free. Mayor Curtis, anything else to do in the meeting? Mayor Curtis just wants to ask for a motion to adjourn, so hang on and we'll turn it back to the mayor.
So I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, participating. I think
Attention, gang.
you'll see that it's a very worthwhile event.
You may be cut off. Here, use this one, Chris. That was live, so great.
Excellent. I just want to say thank you so much for everybody coming out. As you can see, there's a lot of information on the walls, and hopefully it'll give some guidance to council in the future as to what our plans are. With that being said, I just need a motion from council, and that's just to resolve the public meeting, the potential creation of a community hub and improvements to the Kerwood Park be closed at, what's the time?
8:19.
8:19.
The findings of this focus group are going to be, now that you're going to get a report, is that going to be made public to all of us?
Yes.
Or just the council?
Yeah, okay. So we'll be making public, I believe, Brian, you're going to be putting that together, and Kathy, we have, or Jennifer, we have our next meeting on September.
Supposed to be the 30th, but I don't know if we'll get Brian's report by then. If not, it'll be by October 7th.
September 30th, and if we have the report time, it will be on the agenda then. If not, it'll be in our first meeting in December, which is October, which is the first Monday of the month, and I'm not sure.
So my commitment to you, gang, is to take all this stuff home, put it on my bedroom wall, and create a report out of it, we'll group the things. I won't add anything except the odd title maybe on some of those where we threw them out. But put these in order of your voting and tell you what the scores were and what you voted for and what those all look like, so that any of you will have that as a record of what happened here tonight. And as I said, this histogram will be part of it. And as I said, we're going to, I created a couple of sheets there, and we're going to go out and put these together right tonight if you want to hang around for a few minutes, but it's up to you.
So thank you, Brian. Thank you for facilitating tonight. As I was saying, a motion to resolve our public meeting for the potential creation of the community hub. The improvements to the Kerwood Park be closed at 8:21 p.m. and that the council also adjourn at 8:21. That's Councilor Clark and Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor, opposed, and that's carried. Thank you so much for coming out.